There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos on how to become emotionally detached nowadays. What does that even mean? Basically, these people are telling you to become distant, to feel less, to not be as engaged in your relationships, to kind of lay back a little because this will keep you from becoming hurt and this will keep you from becoming unproductive through drowning in your own emotions. Quite frankly, I think that that is bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. There are all kinds of quotes going around, very wise ones as well, such as who feels less wins, or the one in the relationship who feels less is the one in control, and this is the person you should be. When have we started to demonize emotions? Like, honestly, aren't emotions the very thing that makes us human? Isn't or aren't emotions, positive ones for that matter, the ones that make life worth living? What these self help gurus are doing is they're selling this idea of becoming invincible by feeling less. They sort of feed into this hero, lone wolf type of narrative that is also being portrayed in media a lot. For example, if you think about James Bond, like he is really detached from all his emotions. And this allows him to do the things he does. And this allows him to also do bad things for the ultimate good. But for the average person, for you and me, no matter what your path in life might be, detaching from your own emotions as like a general strategy to life is just dysfunctional. Where does emotional detachment, this phrasing, this word, or this sort of expression even come from? It actually comes from psychology, and it's a term described to use when people have experienced trauma, and in response to that trauma, in response to the negative emotions they felt in this traumatic situations, they develop this sort of blunt attitude. They develop this protection strategy that causes them to kind of dissociate, to kind of detach from their own emotions. Okay, so please keep in mind that this is where the term comes from. If you've been emotionally invalidated for a long time, if you suffered some kind of physical or mental abuse, or if something really unexpected, traumatic happened to you, this is what you'll do, what you'll automatically do. And now, what these self help people do is they tell you to do this consciously. They tell you to kind of cut down on your emotions a bit in order to gain some kind of advantage. And the thing is, you can do this. You can consciously feel less. Um, and this is also what we do all of the time. And it's not always dysfunctional if you think about it. For example, if you have a horrible job that you really, really want to change, there's a horrible boss at this workplace, and you every time you go there, you just feel like shit. Then it's totally reasonable for you to just disconnect from that situation a bit, to not take what this person says personally, to not be authentic when being with those people, because you know you will just end up getting yelled at or being hurt, you know? In those situations, it's totally valid to kind of lay back a little bit, to kind of become more passive and to go into this kind of spectator perspective and just not be as engaged. And while this is fine, what this emotional detachment in the self-help bubble is kind of suggesting is that you should do this for all areas of life. But what they're selling as emotional detachment and as this new strategy is actually nothing else or nothing different than an avoidant attachment style. And this, let me tell you, is not functional and not something you want. What is an avoidant attachment style? Maybe you've heard about it. There are different types of attachment, and they usually develop in childhood, but they can also change throughout life. And an avoidant attachment style is basically an attachment style of a person who fears intimacy. This means that you're gonna be less empathetic with your partner. You're not gonna be able to support your partner very well in situations where they need support, or intimacy because you will give them distance in that situation. And this, what these people are selling is they say, okay, but if you're in control, if you kind of take yourself out of the equation a little bit, if you just kind of hide a little bit, if you take a step back and not be as attached, you won't be hurt as much. This is what they're trying to sell you. This is what they're trying to say. You are gaining control by being the one who loves less. But what you're actually doing is you're sabotaging yourself. And let me tell you why. What you're doing by kind of taking a step back and not showing as much of yourself, not being as empathetic with your partner, is you're depriving yourself of meaningful connection. And ultimately, this is what being a human being is about. I think that this emotional detachment, which is being sold as sort of this power strategy, this sort of thing that makes you invincible, is actually something that people do when they're very afraid. It's an attempt to avoid connection in order to avoid disappointment and avoid getting hurt. Nobody likes to get hurt, especially if we show our whole selves to another person and that person rejects us for that very thing. It shatters you. But this is the price you have to pay in order to have meaningful connection. If you always are like laid back and not fully immersed in your experience, you're not living your life. This won't improve your relationships at all. If anything, it will make you become more distant from the people around you. And people also feel when you detach. Studies have been conducted where people interacted with strangers and they were either instructed to be detached emotionally, or they were instructed to behave normally. And the strangers they interacted with actually felt more anxious if the person was being emotionally detached. So this is something that also the people around you will sense. This is not just an attitude you hold in your mind. This is something that actually has consequences in your everyday social interactions. When you suppress negative emotions, this will not just suppress the negative emotions. It's a two-edged sword, okay? You cannot just leave out the negative emotions. This is also what they're trying to sell, that you will experience less negative emotions, but the positive ones stay. No, they don't. It's a package deal. And this is also what happens in trauma response. Those people, they stop feeling anything. And this can actually lead to depression. This is a symptom of depression and also a negative symptom of schizophrenia. This is real pathological, not feeling anything. And also, these emotions that you're suppressing, may they be positive or negative, they don't just go away. They are actually stored in the body, just like trauma is stored in the body. And sooner or later, this will manifest, whether it's in the form of anxiety, in the form of sleeping problems, or in the form of burnout. So, what should we do? Instead of emotionally detaching yourself from everything and everyone around you, you should be very selective with whom you trust and with whom you give your whole self to. You can be attached, you can be in a relationship, you can have secure attachment to someone and still set boundaries in other areas of your life. These two things can go hand in hand. And I think what is very dangerous is that in this self-help bubble, a lot of the times things are painted as being very black and white, very dichotomous. But actually, you can totally have meaningful connections, be vulnerable in certain situations, and be distant and emotionally regulated, emotionally distant in others. And this is what you have to do in order to be a confident and happy person. When you encounter negative situations, when you encounter these hard emotions that you don't want to feel, what you should do instead of suppressing them, instead of distracting yourself from them, is you should feel them. And I know this is easier said than done. Just feel your feelings, just accept them. It's human to feel. Yeah, but it hurts anyway. And it can shatter you anyway. Heartbreak hurts. And it's so easy to run away from from those feelings, even at the price of losing your positive emotions as well. But the kind of key word or the thing to keep in mind here is the word resilience. What you should try to build is resilience, which basically means feeling hard emotions and moving forward and coming out of periods of crisis a stronger person, a stronger version of yourself without abandoning yourself by not feeling anymore. I hope that you guys could take something from this video. Please don't just blindly take advice from self-help videos you see. Please always reconsider. Emotions are absolutely necessary for you to feel, negative ones and positive ones, and they make up our human experience. So I hope that you guys could take something from this video, and I see you guys in the next video. Bye.